It will soon become clear to you why I'm holding these, but if you are into marketing or if you do any kind of sales, just tell me this. If you're sitting with a prospect and you know that they are considering between you and a competitor, and you have a case study of some other client who was in a similar situation, they had to choose between you and a competitor, but they eventually went with you, then which framing of this case study is going to persuade the prospect more? One framing of the case study would be, hey, see, there is someone else I know who had similar confusion and he chose us because of A, B, C, D, whatever reason, right? Or framing 2 could be rejection framing. Something like, hey, there was this other guy, similar situation like yours, and the reason they rejected the other alternative or option or competitor was because of XYZ. I don't know about you, but most marketers or salespeople say that they would rather focus on why somebody chose them and talk about that. But the truth is, that's actually a less effective strategy. We actually get more influenced by why someone else didn't choose something than we get by why someone chose something. In fact, there is this research paper that I can share with you, but let me share one study from that paper. So, bunch of people, they were called in a pair of 2, and in this research you will figure out why I was showing this, right? So, one person in that pair is asked, which one do you want? So let's say he says, I want Twix, right? They take it. Now, you ask the same question to the next person in that pair. So when you do that, and let's say they take Snickers or Twix, but what it was observed is when you do that, then 30% of the time, the next person ended up choosing the same thing that the first person chose. But then they changed the framing, okay? Instead of saying, which one do you want? They said, hey, which one you don't want? So let's say somebody says, I don't want Snickers. So other person is observing this, right? And then they ask the same thing to another person, which one you don't want? So again, some of them would have said we don't want Twix, some of them said we don't want Snickers. I mean, this research had some other example, but I'm just demonstrating it. Now, the tendency to follow what the first person did went up to 56%. Massive jump in influence. And in this paper that I'm talking about has multiple such studies. Some of them also test between 3 choices, but irrespective of whatever study they did, the finding is very consistent that whenever persuasion can happen by giving an example of somebody else making a similar decision, then when you make the person focus on why the other person made a particular choice, they get influenced relatively less than when you make them focus on why the other person actually rejected the other options. And what explains this behavior? So what happens is when we are focusing on how somebody else makes their choice to pick something, then we do not necessarily want to copy their choice that much because we think that, it's not the most objective thing that that person is doing. They have their own biases and preferences, subjectivity is involved, etc., etc. So it influences us, but we still attribute a lot of subjectivity to it. But when we are focused to observe why certain options are being rejected, then we attribute that person to be doing a much more fairer and objective job, and we therefore find it easier to copy their decision. So hope this makes you rethink about some of your pitches, especially at BOFU level, that bottom of the funnel level. Basically, if you can, then try to highlight why earlier somebody else rejected other alternatives, because if you do that, then you're going to influence your prospect a lot more. My name is Amrit. I run Story99. It's a communications and storytelling agency for 50 to 500 size tech product companies. We have worked with microprocessor companies, AI product companies, SaaS, anything tech or deep tech. So yeah, see you soon.